Welcome to our Hair Queen LA YouTube channel. Today we are joined by the absolutely beautiful Kerri Colby. Look at her.
Thank you. Hi.
Hi.
What's up?
She's wearing her fantasy, gorgeous little two-piece set. The wig is laid. Get into this blue wig.
When you said Trinity, I was thinking this. I was like, yes, this is the Trinity.
No, literally, she just got her wig installed and I'm absolutely living. The color palette looks gorgeous. She's gorgeous. Everything is right.
It's right.
So how are you feeling today? How are you feeling after you got your hair did?
Good. I mean, it's no secret. I feel like there's so much confidence to be said and like, you know, getting your hair and getting that experience and also just kind of like taking that time to get that like self-care cater moment.
Yeah.
And I mean, I already felt good. We woke up, we did our thing this morning, and now I just feel so like confident and like so ready to go. So
amazing. Power of hair.
The power of the hair.
Good. So you've done a lot already in your career and you're on Drag Race last year.
Yeah.
You're on season 14. You've done so many campaigns. You work with Fenty. You've performed with Jennifer Lopez. How does it feel to like have all these accolades under your belt already?
It's so funny because like, I guess I live in a world of like delusion, but it's like reverse delusion. I keep myself like really humble where I'm like, I haven't done anything ever. I'm literally just like, I'm nothing. And when I hear sometimes what I've done, I have to like pinch myself. I'm like, oh, are you talking about me? Because it feels amazing, but like I'm in a way like a workaholic.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, I might have done that like a week ago, but it feels like a year ago and I have like a million more things to do. So
yeah.
I don't know. I feel like when I hear what I've done, I appreciate that because it gives me a moment to like reflect back and be like, okay, I have been doing something. Now back to work.
No, I'm very, very similar. I feel like I'm always constantly moving and just doing a lot. And so sometimes when things happen, you're like, yeah, that's great, on to the next. And you don't really get to like savor and take in the full, you know, experience. You know what I mean?
Very much so. I feel that.
Yeah, and on top of that, you were granted the nickname Thanos. You were collecting the girls left and right on season 14, collecting all the trans girlies.
Miss Tranos here if you're nasty.
Wonderful. So we're gonna get into a little bit more about who you are and how you've gotten to this point because I'm very curious.
Yes, the good stuff.
Yeah, how we've gotten to this beautiful goddess that we have sitting right before me.
It's been a journey.
It's been a journey, and guess what? We're gonna start right at the beginning.
All right, in the beginning.
So you're originally from Dallas, Texas.
I am, yep.
Yes. Being in Texas, that's kind of a crazy place to be right now. There's a lot of scary laws, a lot of people in power who are, you know, a little bit scary to
I think they're a little
there.
bit, I agree with you, but I also think they're a little bit scared.
Sure.
Like they're reacting out of fear, limitation, and like, child, the scarcity complex has just riddled the South as of late.
And so the things that I see like on Instagram and just all these new laws that they're coming up with, it's always attacked at our trans youth. And there's been a lot of awareness as of recently towards our trans youth and being able to protect them and making sure that they are protected. And how was, when you were growing up, your family and your journey, like how did that affect you?
Oh, I mean, to be honest with you, and this is a part of why, because people oftentimes ask me like, why am I so open, so transparent sometimes? And part of it is like, I feel like with my story in my life, I have the example of the family who is very religious, who, you know, I'm a person of color, so I was raised with like the white and black background. I never really felt like I fit in. I think my parents, in a way, never felt like they fit in, especially being in the South.
Sure.
But unfortunately, because everyone was so caught up in their own struggles, I didn't really get the support growing up. I didn't really get, and still don't, but I didn't really get a very supportive base. But I will say I feel in hindsight blessed because a lot of times when we hear about trans people in media, which I think is great, we need to get to this place where, you know, trans youth are able to express themselves and be free and be open and, you know, I feel this way, and mom's like, oh honey, I love that, let's go get you Barbie dolls, you know, whatever's going on, like that's good. You are supposed to affirm and make someone feel comfortable. But there's also this juxtaposition of a lot of the times the reality, especially for people in a minority field or that are from a background of color, they don't relate to that because there's so much scrutiny on being successful and being hyper masculine and carrying the family mantle and making something of the lineage and all this stuff that gets put on us. And for me, being able to say, hey, I actually relate to that. I know what it's like to not have any support. I know what the outcome could and oftentimes is when you don't have any support. One big thing about me that I'm very appreciative is me being able to speak up and not be afraid of the discomfort from that has helped a lot of parents and children and family members and just so many people I am able to kind of speak with and see sometimes reach out and say, like, you know, I didn't know how to approach transness. I didn't know how to really truly approach queerness. But in watching you and hearing your story and understanding kind of that, like, oh my gosh, in a very terrible twist of events, I kind of was like your parents. I kind of was the person that was putting my child in a box and pushing them away and ruining my relationship with the love of my life that is everything to me. And they were able to kind of have that come to creation moment, if you will. And that's been so impactful because I feel like if you don't sometimes share the bad, it gets very muted and people are like, it's not that bad. Tell the kids to shut up and go mind their business. And it's like, okay, you can do that. That's an option, but there are consequences. And this is what can happen, or worse, if you do neglect somebody.
For sure, for sure. You are so lucky to have the most wonderful drag mom in the world, Sasha, who we had who we had here not too recently, and talking with her was a pleasure. We talked about her and her motherness and just how she's so warm and inviting and how she treats all of her children. So with her, how was that, being able to have that at least? How was she as a mom? 100%.
I mean, the power of chosen family, I think that's, so where my growing up story has its drawbacks, and I feel like I missed out on a lot of things with a family, I also have the super ultra plus side of having the most amazing chosen family. And that comes from, you know, my own personal friends and also like my drag family, and, you know, really getting to be around people that inspire me and motivate me, and, you know, you get to see a rich lineage and history. I mean, if you don't know about Sasha, but at this point, do your research. It's all over the internet. But she, beyond Drag Race and her recent TV journey, and an amazing journey at that, there's so much more to her. And even with her origin story, as I've gotten to know her over the years and connected with her on those deeper levels, we have a lot of similarities too. So just to really have that connection and almost have that, we have that yearning to create that family that we never had, and in some cases may never get to have. It makes it so much more precious for us to be there for each other, and that's really special.
Yeah, that's beautiful, honestly. So when you were a little bit younger and you were still living with your family that wasn't so accepting, what was your, like, who were your inspirations? Like, who would you see and be like, I love her? And then, part two question.
Two-part.
Yeah. And then on top of that as well, like, what kept you going to not give up?
Those are really good. So what's interesting for me, and it kind of goes back to when you were talking about the original first two-part about how the relationship between a parent and a child is such a beautiful and important thing. I was gonna piggyback off of that and say that, like, if you don't have that relationship with your child will find that relationship, and they're gonna get fed regardless, and they'll usually go and find a way to feed themselves, but that alienates them so far from family. And for me specifically, that's very much what happened. I was raised Pentecostal, which is like a very,
pretty intense.
It's a very intensified version of Christianity. And in the South, so just, whew, you know, snake handlers. But I always knew that, like, there was a part of that just seemed a little too over mystified for me. I didn't connect with that. And I loved, like, one thing I did love about growing up Pentecostal was the girls didn't cut their hair, so they had inches to the floor.
Okay,
homegrown. So I've always been obsessed with the fantasy of just extreme femininity. And even, you know, in Pentecostalism, a woman is very muted. She's not really supposed to bring a lot of attention to herself.
Sure.
She's not supposed to exhibit vanity, really. So the girls, they find their ways to do it. So they be having their inches to the floor, get their little nails done with their little designer clothes and stuff. So it taught me to always pick up on those details and be like, "Ooh, she's a bad bitch. I know she ain't allowed to think that, but she's a bad bitch and she knows it." You know, Sister Teresa over there better give it, honey.
Okay.
You know. And that's what I started to look for outside of the church too. I loved girls that gave me fantasy. It was all about girls that took what they had, being original, being ordinary, or not so much, and they just took that and went to the nth degree. So like, I remember one of my first experiences, like I got to see, like walking through the mall, because I wasn't allowed to really, I was raised very sheltered, obviously, and then I went to like private school but like a very weird private school. Like the church's private school until I was like in 6th grade. So I didn't really know about anything in the normal world from like birth to 6th grade. Like I was out of it. But what I did know is when I went in the mall, I would see things that made no sense to what I was told the world was like, you know. The woman is supposed to be modest and prudent and servant to her husband. And then I walk in the mall and I see the Victoria's Secret store front with the angels. And when I tell you, Adriana Lima had me in a chokehold.
Hey, okay.
Adriana Lima had me in a chokehold because I'd be like, who is that? She's so like dark and mysterious and she's owning it and like, you know, almost like a masculine energy to her because she's so confident. And she, you know, the other girls would just be like, ooh, you know,
soft and pretty.
And she'd be like, flip that hair and growl at the camera and like have her demi push-up bra. And then in the background of the store, they'd be playing Pussycat Dolls of all things.
Hey, buttons.
So buttons, and when I grow up, I'm telling you, like those things, it wasn't just music and visuals for me. It literally represented like, I felt like a trapped bird in a cage and I saw a glimpse of freedom. And I saw a glimpse of fresh air and I saw a glimpse of paradise beyond these walls that I knew. And then that of course evolved into all the divas. I kind of had a slow roll into them, but it went from Pussycat Dolls to Beyonce to Britney Spears to Christina, and then I started to learn about like, you know, where kind of a lot of them came from. So, you know, Whitney, Mariah, Patti LaBelle,
all of them.
Cher, you know, we just kept going back, and the more I'd learn about these goddesses, these elevated women, I would just become so obsessed with literally all of them and appreciate each one of them for their own unique and special talents. And that's, I feel like I still be obsessed with all the girls today.
No, truly. They are truly the gift that keeps giving too.
It's true.
Like, my queen is Beyonce. I mean, I love every single one of them that you listed, but it's literally like, they just keep getting better and better and better, and they are aging like fine wine. You know what I mean?
Wine.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's truly like, and it's also like something where you are endlessly inspired by them as well. Like even when I was young, I was like, oh my God, wow, I'm obsessed. And I'm 26 now, 15 years later, and I'm still obsessed. And they're still giving me what I need, you know? So I'm sure for you, it was that like tenfold, even more so.
It was my blueprint. It was my school book on like, you know, I didn't really know. I always knew that I felt very different from the body I was born in. I felt confused, very confused, because I wasn't even allowed to explain, to begin to try to talk about the fact that I might not identify with the body I was born in. Are you kidding me? I would have been hung. But I learned so much from them. And also, the really cool part with us being in the community is how crazy is it to learn that they are the inspiration to us, but in many ways, we are the inspiration and the juice to them.
Truly.
There is so much appreciation from the entertainment world to the queer community, and I think that that's such a special bond that we have because we learn from them and they learn from us and our exuberance. And I feel like as time goes on, we're really building this like story, and it's gorgeous.
Totally.
It's so gorgeous.
Totally. Absolutely gorgeous. And you've done a complete 180 from growing up to now.
Complete 180.
So how does it feel being a trans icon?
You know.
Hey.
Hey, mama, how you doing? And dad. You know, what's so funny is I also want to just, you know, I don't want this to be too political, but I want this to be a part of a video that says, you know, when you think you can have an agenda and you think that you can want something for your children, you got to remember that when you make the decision to have children, children are a unique, independent, and beautifully hardwired to be themselves organism.
Yeah.
And you really have no control of what they're gonna do. Because look at me, I was raised and very much heavily encouraged to not be anything that I am now. And I'm the furthest thing from what I was raised to be.
Right.
But I'm also the most happy and I feel so fulfilled. And in that fulfillment, I feel like I still am spiritual. I'm not necessarily Christian whatsoever, but
sure.
I'm definitely spiritual. I think that there's essence in the world. There's universe.
Sure.
There's spirit all around us. And I feel like I'm moving in such a more uplifting and positive spiritual way in my life now, doing what I do, being able to help and minister and touch who I touch and inspire them than I ever did before.
Mm-hmm.
And I just think the universe is real funny. The universe is a comedian. If God exists, he is a comedian. Let me just tell you.
Honestly, she's a comedy queen.
She is a comedy queen down.
Literally down. No, the universe always has your back too.
Yeah.
If you are stepping into the person that you're supposed to be, then the universe will always push you towards success and happiness. Even if your parents or whoever was trying to hold you back from that, the universe is always on your side and will always get you to the point where you need to be at. 100%. So I believe in that 100%.
We are spiritual over here.
Right?
Universe.
Okay. So now, what drives you now? Like, what is, you know, what's your bread and butter that makes you just so confident in yourself? Because you are a very confident queen.
I guess so.
I mean, most, if you're going to be on Drag Race, you have to be a little bit confident, you know what I mean?
Or delusional.
Either or.
Or a little bit of both.
Some are the same, you know?
Yeah.
But like, you carry yourself so well, you're so humble. No, of course, and I really mean that because there are a lot of queens that, you know, carry themselves in different ways, which is completely fine. But like your energy it's just so nice and grounded and level-headed, and it's very wonderful. So like, how do you, like, what drives you to be the person you are today?
Oh my gosh, well, not all the girls can carry like Kerri, let me tell you. You know, I think for me, there's many, many things that drive me. Number one, where we are now, it's weird. I feel like we quantum leaped into this universe where like all of a sudden, like I already was gagged when like queerness, specifically like the gay movement of finding and accepting yourself as a gay and queer person happened, you know, a few years back. Mm-hmm. That was a gag to me, especially coming from Texas, where like you would get yourself whooped if you tried to act up and how dare you even be confident and bold in yourself.
Right.
And then all of a sudden you know, people were just becoming more and more authentic left and right. Mm-hmm. And I was like, what is this universe? I didn't know that this existed. And it was very fun. And now we're in this place where like there's so much scrutiny on transgenderism. Yeah. Because I think a lot of people don't understand it, because we are literally 0.1% of the population. We are a very small amount of the population, but we're a very authentic and powerful part of the population. Mm-hmm. And it's one of those things where like you either understand it or you seek to understand it, or you don't understand it and you feel uncomfortable and therefore you want to bully and harass, or as some people apparently like to say, eradicate it, which is so wrong.
Yeah.
And that in and of itself, being the reality that I live in, is what motivates me. I wake up feeling very invigorated to, I already know that like me existing makes a difference.
Sure.
You know, because I'm very much a big believer in if you see her, you can be her. If you believe in her, you can achieve her. So being that person, it's like a full circle. I'm trying to be the person that I always hoped and dreamed to be growing up. But in doing that, I realize I inspire people to do that for themselves, which keeps me wanting to do more, because I'm like, baby, let me tell you, it only gets better from here.
Fully,
you know, I'm gonna keep going because I want you to keep going, and we're gonna keep going, and where we're gonna end up, nobody knows, but we're gonna get there, you know? Yeah. And it's a journey. And that's honestly, I think, what keeps me going, because it does get exhausting.
Yes, for sure.
I won't lie and say I'm not exhausted, because just having to fight to breathe and feel comfortable in my identity that took me so long to even be comfortable in myself with, and then I gotta stand up and fight and defend it like I ain't supposed to be here or something.
Yeah.
That's exhausting, but it's also so energizing to know that there are people in our corner that even if they may not necessarily be us, they feel empowered to be their authentic self. Because that's what I think the whole transgender realization and movement is. It's not specifically about gender, it's about authenticity. And if we can go against all odds, genetically and whatever the hell else, to be authentic, so can you. And you should do that. That's what life is about. Be authentic, be you. And if you have a dream, chase it. I don't care what you think your dream is or isn't for you. Make it happen.
For sure.
Period.
For sure. And a lot of the time, like, for kids that are maybe like below 18, they're going into college, say they're not even gay, just a normal kid, like they're told you need to get a degree, you need to get a good paying job, you need to get married by X age, you have to like have kids, like just society in general is already being conditioned to live one specific type of life, when we should be encouraging kids or younger adults to be chasing after their dreams, you know, to be authentic, expressing themselves the way that they want to, however which way they need to. And I feel like that oftentimes gets lost, and it's really unfortunate, you know, because we could have so many more amazing people. We already have like amazing people in this life, but like if parents gave their kids the push to live whoever they like to be.
Truthfully, yeah, it would. We already have seen that the more we accept people, the more colorful and beautiful and expressive and artistic and confident our world has become. So if we keep doing that, it only really goes further. And this is my thing too. 90% of these parents, they don't even want to be doing what they are pushing their kids to do. They don't want to do it, but they were conditioned and pushed to do it. And they probably were disgruntled half the time. And that's the thing too, because there's a lot of generational gaps that when we're discussing what's going on right now.
Sure.
And I feel like there's a certain generational gap where it's like, you know, they were raised a certain way. They didn't really get the ability to be individuals. They didn't really get the ability to think for themselves or want something for themselves. If they thought it, they got smacked on the hand, told to behave, get in line, quit acting up, and go get your work done. And they thought about let me stand up and be myself, and then like, I'm not gonna do it.
Yeah.
They bowed down and bowed out of it, which is fine. That's what they wanted to do, but they didn't even want to do it. And then they're passing on that. You want to talk about generational trauma? They're passing that trauma on by putting that same discouragement on their children. When sometimes the best triumphs in a lifetime happen through failure. You need to feel and find and search what you want to do and fail at it in order to find what works. You're not going to find what works until you know what doesn't work.
Truly.
And that's on every single spectrum and every single category you can do it. Like from cooking to looking to hooking. You know, you got to find out what works for you, and the way you find out what works for you and what you're good at and what your ministry and what you can bring to a table is by learning what doesn't work, and that's trial and error. So we're robbing people of their greatness by not letting them go out and fail and find and do and come back and be like, I learned this, now I'm gonna give my 120%. Because I feel like a lot of people aren't giving nowhere near 100% of effort to things that they're doing right now because they're not passionate. They're not authentic about it.
No, they weren't given the opportunity to be excited about it, which is really unfortunate.
And it shows.
Yeah. And so a lot of kids say they are passionate about something. They have different revenues on how they're going to get there. And so obviously you're a beautiful queen now. So how is hair and makeup, like, especially hair queen LA, boop, 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 boop. How was that like a revenue for you to get to where you are now?
I mean, I'll be very honest, specifically hair has always been the gateway. I'm like envisioning it as I'm talking. So if I'm looking out this way, it's because I'm envisioning like what hair means to me. And it's so much more than just like, you know, something that you can whip around.
Speaking of, let me fix this little.
Oh, fix me.
There you go, gorgeous.
Yes, fix me. Hair is a gateway for me to feel truly expressive and connected to a vision that I have. Makeup too, because you gotta look the part to be the part to go and execute and slay the part. But hair has always been, like, I could have a beat face, and if I don't have the right hair, I don't have the moment, I don't feel confident.
Sure.
I don't feel like anything. Hair has always been my missing link, personally. And I have always used hair and different colors of hair, different styles of hair, specifically usually always human hair, because it just makes me feel connected to whatever fantasy I'm tapping into and motivated by at that specific time.
Yeah.
And that goes for anything I've ever done. If you go through everything I've ever put out anywhere, most of the time I feel like my main ingredient that really helps me connect to that is my hair. If it's a long hair moment, I feel like a goddess. If it's a colorful hair moment, I feel like I'm outer dimensional and I'm out here ready to kick some butt. And if I feel like, you know, I'm wanting to just feel like a goddess and open for J-Lo and strut down a runway and not compete with her, but pay homage to her and not look disrespectful, baby, I gotta have the same 40-inch bust down that she had when she was doing it. So, you know, hair has always been my X factor, always. And it's very important and very special to me, honestly.
Good, amazing. And, you know, their hair has such a power over anyone, whether you're a girl, a boy, they, them, no matter, like, because it does truly change your image of who you are, and it gives you a completely different aesthetic. And we're really trying to push for more boys, men, whoever identify, to want to get their hair done more, put on a wig or a toupee, whatever. Because, you know, there's men who have cancer, or there's men 100%. Who are losing their hair, it's thinning out.
Age is real.
Okay. So what advice do you have towards that demographic in terms of being okay with it?
You know, just like how I tell people to think outside of a box that you grew up in when you deal with or approach someone like me. You know, like, I am not going to be in my existence something that you may have been used to, but that doesn't mean I'm a threat. It just means I'm something new. You gotta approach it with an open mind, right? Same thing with hair and hair products and hair care. You know, I think a lot of us humans, we have taught ourselves to rob ourselves of self-love and self-care and self-embellishment to really build ourselves up to feel better. And hair is genderless. Literally, the word hair is not masculine nor feminine in anywhere, because everyone has hair. And hair has the ability, I'm not telling every, you know, father of 10 kids to go out there and get a 40-inch wig and walk around the streets. I mean, if you do it, slay. Major slay. I'll be watching, I'll double tap the video, trust and believe. But I'm not saying for everyone to go to that nth degree, but to take that extra step to invest in yourself and to feel something, just like how, you know, our community or, you know, people of color, I think a lot of people of color have come to realize that hair is a fantasy, and you don't need that to feel better, or you don't need that to achieve happiness. But when you have access to multiple fantasies, you don't feel so limited to only feel confident in one avenue. You know, when you have multiple ways to get to one way to work, are you gonna take the same one way to work every day? No, you're gonna take this road, that road, through the hills, down the highway, whatever you're feeling, as long as you got time. But hair really is also that same type of avenue. You can elevate yourself, you can feel better by doing so many different things with hair. And I think that more people outside of just the female genre should be more comfortable with exploring that, because you're robbing yourself of an experience that could be really fun for you. And let's face it, a lot of people treat people badly because they don't feel good about themselves. And if you can do a little something out here to feel better about yourself and treat more people better, you're gonna be able to have such a better life. Like, you're gonna wake up happier, go to bed happier. And if it's a little something that you apply and plop on your head and you feel good about it,
perfect.
Please, by all means do it, because I'm sick of dealing with you, Thomas. Like, come on, get it together. Steven, this is for Steven. I am mad at Steven. No, I'm just kidding, but you know.
No, for sure. For sure.
Okay, yeah, inside jokes. But definitely, like, play with your identity and play with your expression, because you don't know what you could be missing out on unless you're playing with it.
Perfect.
Okay, don't play with it, but play with it.
I love that answer.
Yes.
I have thoroughly enjoyed this entire interview. You are so well spoken.
Thank you. I have a few opinions.
No, yeah, everything you said, I like forgot that I was interviewing you, and I was like, I was here at the Kerri Colby, what's
My
it called?
TED Talk.
Your TED Talk. That's what I meant to say. The Kerri TED Talk. But yeah, absolutely, everything that you say resonated through and through. I hope whoever watches this also it resonates with them as well, because it is true. Like, men or women, like, you are robbing yourself of an experience without, you know, getting your hair done, or, you know, men, if you have a big bald spot, throw a toupee on. It'll probably
a good one. There's good ones out there now. You don't gotta be looking like Hubba Bubba out there in the '90s movies. Like, you ain't gonna look like Will Ferrell or something. Like, you can look good.
And you'll pull more, to be honest.
Definitely, honey. Okay.
For sure.
Trust.
Absolutely. So, where can everyone find you on social media?
All my socials, I think, are pretty much the same. If you type in KerriColby on pretty much anything out there, except OnlyFans, because I am a woman of God. Don't play with me. You can find me there, and if it ain't that, then put a "the" in front of it, and I'm gonna be there. So that's pretty much it.
Do you have anything upcoming that we should know about or be excited about?
I feel like I'm always working on something. Half the time I can't even talk about what I'm working on, but just know that I am a very dedicated person to being iconic until I pass away in a casket, and I even want that to be iconic. So I will always be working on something. So if you like to laugh, you like to love, hopefully you were able to learn or enjoy something about this. This keeps going, it don't stop. So the after party is on my socials, and we're gonna keep going.
Work. Love that. Well, it was lovely to have you here today.
Thank you for having us, the Trinity and me.
Absolutely. The wig is laid. And speaking of wigs, visit hairqueenla.com where you can shop online. If you use the code Colby200, you'll get $200 off your wig purchase. And then if you buy a wig I know, right?
That's a good one.
Right. And if you buy a wig in store, it comes with a free installation. So come and browse your selections. I'm 1000% sure we have an option for you. I've been Nathan, your content creator here at Hair Queen LA, and have a good rest of your day.